Hello guys, nice to see you today at our new lesson. Today we will discover what API and web services are. Here is our agenda for today. Today we will do the following. What is API? What is a web service? Why are web services needed? Where web services are used? What are pros and cons of API? Let's start from understanding of what API is. API is an acronym that hides the following expression inside: Application Programming Interface. To understand it better, we should start our definition from a simpler term, UI. You could already hear the acronym UI, that means User Interface. These words mean that it is a part of application that user interacts with directly. For example, a button, or drop-down menu, or a list are parts of a user interface of a web application. You can click, select different options, or change their sizes with the help of your computer mouse or keyboard. So you, as an end user, has access to the elements of UI and can interact with them in different ways. In comparison with user interface, Application Programming Interface is hidden from the eyes of the end user of an application. Nevertheless, it is quite similar to the UI of this application. It is also a way of interaction of one system with another. For example, API can be a bridge between the web part of your application, or UI, and the database of your application, where the user data is stored. API consists of two following parts: the programming code that processes requests and responses from the API client, and the software interface, upper layer of the API, that enables the client to access the API. API can also be compared to UI in the following case. For example, your application is written in JavaScript and can be opened in the following browser: Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, Edge, etc. Though the user interface is the same for different web browsers, the same can be noticed for API. For instance, API can be written in Java, but the clients of this API can be written in C#, JavaScript, Python, etc. And all of the clients will use the same API calls, regardless the language it is written with. When considering the API term, it is also needed to pay attention to the web service definition. A web service is an information system that enables machines interaction via network. Both of them are closely connected with each other, but it is needed to understand exactly what each of them means. Also, each web service should have an interface described in a machine-readable format to allow interaction between the service and its clients in the understandable for programming code format. From the definition of a web service, you can see that it is very similar to API definition. But the main difference between them is that a web service requires network to interact with machine, while API is internet independent. Nevertheless, I can say that each web service has its own API, so it is just a type or part of API. The following question needed to be understood is why web services are needed and how they can help the software development process. First, the main purpose of creation of API for your web application is to accelerate the software development process. With the help of APIs, developers can just reuse the existing programming interface to develop new features. For example, if you want to develop a website that shows weather in different cities of your country, you can just use APIs that meteorological centers of your city provide. So, your website will look like a presentation of information provided by several different APIs collected in one specific place. The major benefit will be that you don't have to spend additional time for your own database or API creation in this case. Second, API is used as an abstraction layer between two systems. Let's imagine a situation when you have a database that accumulates information about population in your region. In this database, you have addresses of people, their current income, their height and weight, graduation year, etc. All this data is very large and informative. But what if your task is just to create an application that can output the name of a person, date of his or her birth, and average annual income? In this case, you don't need all the information from the database. You just need 3 different values for each person in the dataset. Another application can need, for example, information about medical insurance, connection with specific doctor, and annual income for each of the person. Another one will have to access the graduation year and height for each inhabitant in your region. So, you will have to process data differently for each of the listed applications, and have to define the logic of data processing and queries to the database directly in the applications. If you talk about web applications, these operations are low performance and take very much time. So, that is the reason of why API is so popular in the most of the modern web applications. Because you don't have to care about the processing of data, you should just send the request with the help of specific provided interface by the API, and retrieve the response in understandable view. Let's consider the main pros and cons that API usage for a web application can bring. It is better to start from the worst, so I would list the main disadvantages for API usage. The first and the last one is the application vulnerability that web service use brings with us. For example, once an API is compromised by a hacker's attack, the other applications and systems that reuse this API became vulnerable in a single moment. Nonetheless, the precious insecurity of Web API can be removed and protected with the help of proper testing process, so this con can be overcome with correct time investment. Let's continue with the main advantages of API usage. First, APIs provide your applications with great flexibility. If API can access different components of your database, the delivery of information and services is more flexible. The second point for API is efficiency increase. For instance, when access is provided to an API, the content generated can be published automatically and is available for every channel. It allows us to be shared and distributed more easily. The following advantage of API application is personalization. Through APIs, any user or company can customize the content and services that they use the most. For instance, different data from the same base can be provided with the help of API. The final point for API is accelerated adoption. APIs help to anticipate changes. When working with the technology, data migration is supported better, and the information is reviewed more closely. In short, APIs make service provision more flexible. As a result, we can see that the API's popularity in the modern programming world is based on its flexibility, fast adaptation to changes, personalization, and efficiency that it provides to developers, helping to accelerate software development process and delivery process. Let's sum up what we did today. We considered what API is, investigated what a web service is, understood why web services are needed, discovered where web services can be used, found out pros and cons of API. That is everything what I got for you for today. I hope that this was interesting for you to learn what API and web services are with me. This lesson will not have any practical task. During our next lesson, we will talk with you about different types of API and observe main differences between them. Thank you for your attention. See you in the next lesson.